Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Okay. It is, what is it? It is Tuesday morning. I'm filming this for Friday release, and it's going to be my weekly wrap up. And it is currently chilly for where I am in Texas and stormy. So if the thunder comes while I'm filming, I apologize if y'all can hear it. It's been on and off, very loud all morning. So we shall see if that continues. However, I'm pretty confident saying spring has sprung around here. We've already had 90 degrees at my house for more than one day. So when I say it's chilly here, the high today is somewhere in the 50s. So for most of you, that is spring. So for us, it's a brief return to winter. It's supposed to be like 76, 80 tomorrow. So who knows? Okay, so what have I read so far as of this morning for this wonderful month that is February? Well, I finished some stuff. I have a bunch of stuff in progress. And by a bunch of stuff in progress, I really mean I have been graze reading 5, 10, 15 chapters in one book. And then I move on to the next and do the same. And well, it's productive in getting reading accomplished. It isn't productive in getting reading finished per se. So let's talk about what I have finished first. First, let's get the big bad boy out of the way because I would really like to get these off of my shelf. The first 3 at least, and just leave the last 2 because I'm done. I did finish Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. And this is a reread for me. It's the last reread of Stormlight Archive, so I have books 4 and 5 remaining. I haven't read books 4 or 5, so I'm going to physically read them, which will slow me down a little bit. I did listen to this on audio from my library, and it was 55 hours in length, and yeah. When I read this the first time, it was a great story. You know, it expanded on the previous 2 books. It introduced a vast quantity of new people. It continued the storyline, and I was good. I wasn't, reading to find the connections. I wasn't reading for nuance the first time around. This time around, because of recent events, I was listening for nuance. There were 2 instances of it, which the first one mentions a very minor side character of Bridge 4 currently courting, he's a man, currently courting another man. It is a 1-line sentence. It happens in chapter 55. And that's all it is. It's a 1-line throwaway sentence. It's never mentioned again that I caught. I will tell you that the chapter count in the book I listened to, the version I listened to, did not match the chapter count of physical books. So trying to go back and find it was a little bit problematic. But I did. And I did verify that's exactly what the sentence said. And I even flagged it so I can read it to you. And it says... Oh, no. Hang on, where is it? Here's the sentence. And they're talking about men in this world don't read, women read, and they read the important stuff to men. And Kaladin, who's one of our main characters, says this. Dre, Kaladin said, you are literally courting a man. End quote. It's a 1-line throwaway sentence. And Dre's response is, so? And the conversation continues. Yeah, what are you saying, Cal? Scar snapped. Nothing. I just thought Dre might empathize. That's hardly fair, Dre said. Yeah, Lopin added. Dre likes other guys. That's like he wants to be even less around women than the rest of us. It's the opposite of feminine. He is, you could say, extra manly. Serve no purpose. Wasn't in the first two books. So I haven't discussed the story because this is book 3, and even if I could give you a synopsis of what was going on, it wouldn't make sense if you hadn't read books 1 and 2. So, after that conversation occurs, further on into the story, you learn something pivotal about the planet of Roshar and what has been going on for the first 3 books. I don't want to spoil it, but let's say it is a vital piece of information. And what he turns that vital piece of information into, without being very blatant about it, is a treatise on anti-colonialism and how the quote-unquote conqueror is always in the wrong. And so there are plenty of flags in book 3. If you have not started the Stormlight Archive, or you own book 1 and you're thinking of reading it, and you haven't gone and watched the videos about the occurrences of the nonsense in book 5, it is my opinion that it is not worth the time investment to read thousands upon thousands of pages to have the story devolve into what begins as a very well, mild political diatribe to what in book 5 turns into full-blown modern nonsense in an epic high fantasy book. So, if it is sitting on your shelves and you haven't read it and you are on the fence about the time commitment it takes to read these books, and it is a time commitment. I mean, Oathbringer is 1,300 plus pages. And don't get me wrong, the end work is beautiful and the whole 9 yards. But, Oathbringer is over 1,300 pages. The first 2 books are not much shorter. Make your own determination, like always. But after I finish the last 2 books in the first arc of the Stormlight Archive, it is undoubtedly going to be true that I am done reading Brandon Sanderson in any format. I do not read fiction to be lectured at by authors. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. Okay. Now, moving on to happier things. What else have I read? I have finished 2 books on Kindle. They were both rather short. So first up, let's do For Steam and Country by John Delarose. This is the first book in the Baron von Monocle series. This is young adult steampunk. It is absolutely clean. It is absolutely no swearing. There is no faith in the books, but I know he's Catholic. And okay, now that 2 loose labs have moved on and our dogs have settled down, back to where I was. So this is the first of a 6-book series. It is clean. It is fun. It is a gender swap twist on the farm boy does good trope. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It has character growth. It has some action. It has some adventure. It has, princesses and heroes and all the things you want in your fantasy. And, the steampunk element thrown in was fantastic. And we all know I don't read a lot of young adult. It's not my preferred genre by any stretch of the imagination. However, I will be continuing the series. And it was fantastic. And it's available on Kindle Unlimited, as of all of John's books currently are. And yeah, it was great. Okay, next up, I read Groomed for Marriage by R. Shannon. This is Catholic contemporary fiction. And the rest of this series is available on Kindle Unlimited. You do have to buy the first book. It may be available on Kobo as well, which is why it's not available on Kindle Unlimited. But I bought it. I read it. It's a very quick read. And I wish I could explain the title to you, but I can't because that involves spoilers for the story. Let's just say the title is not woke and it makes sense in context of the story, and you'll just have to trust me. So this is a romance. It's more of a family saga than a romance, and it's not, it's like 335 pages or something, so it's not a huge saga, and there is 3 or 4 more books on Kindle Unlimited. So our main protagonist is Father Liam. He is a pastor at, I forget the name of his church, but it's in Ocala. His brother, there's like 14 months between them, so they're very close. His brother Mike lives about 4 hours south with his wife, and the brothers miss each other. So they're trying to convince Mike and Maria to move north to Ocala so that they can, spend time together like they're used to. Father Mike is a widower. He's a former cop. And after his wife died, he became a priest. And he also has a degree in psychology. He counsels parishioners. And Mike and Maria's daughter got married 9 months ago to Jacob. And because Jacob is a self-proclaimed atheist, their daughter, Colleen, has decided to forgo her faith for her marriage. And what you get is this very interwoven, contemporary romance that deals with real life issues and real life struggles, and it is not a glossed over veneer of a perfect life with one little hiccup that gets solved by the end of the book. I will tell you right now, there is no happily ever after, and it ends on a cliffhanger. Not really a cliffhanger, but it does end without resolution of the story. And it is a very real portrayal of the struggles the younger generation have with staying within the church and living out their faith and understanding what that means. And the older generations watching the younger fall away from their faith, struggle, and knowing that they just have to let their kids make mistakes and find their own path, obviously with guidance, but you can't live their life for them. You have to let them make mistakes. And I thought it was just this incredibly well done faith journey of the older generations, the younger generations, and how life isn't perfect and how we are all broken and how God works through example. So I will be continuing the series. I am invested. I like the characters. There were a couple of editing mistakes, but they were very few and far between, so that's no big deal. And this is an easy recommendation. Would I say it has a ton of theology in it? No, it is not theology heavy. Is it, however, full of faith? It absolutely is, but if you're looking for fiction that is going to quote you the catechism or quote you, St. Thomas or St. Augustine or St. Bonaventure or the Bible, this isn't that kind of fiction. This is faith in action fiction, for a lack of a better way to describe it. I would highly recommend it. I will be continuing the series, and it's a quick read. I think I read the first book in a day, so it's not, it's not a struggle to complete. Okay, what else did I read? I have finished the second volume of the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, and I like this one far more than I liked the first. There's more detail, there's more interaction, there is less world building and more substance in the actual story progression. It is enough to actually keep me reading the Unselected Journals. I just wish that volumes 1 and 2 had been combined, because volume 1 left me incredibly unsatisfied, and volume 2 is a definite step up improvement for me, and Emma is coming to life as a character on her own, not just living in the past. And I really enjoyed the interactions between Emma and the tenant. I loved the backstory of where it's not even backstory at this point. There's a couple of passages about where she went to school and what's going on in the present there. And it was all very charming and very well done. And it's completely epistolary. And there were no, one sentence journal entries this time around. And it was a vast improvement from the first one. So if you're on the fence and you're thinking about reading them, they are available on Kindle Unlimited. I highly recommend reading volumes 1 and volume 2 together, like back to back, because and this is only my opinion, everybody else seems to actually just be head over heels with the first volume. I think if you read volume 1 and volume 2 together, it is a much better indication of Emma and the world, and the story building and all of that is far better done. But that's just my opinion. Okay, that is it for completed books on Kindle. And what else have I read? I read 3 more short stories in the complete short story collections of Flannery O'Connor. I'm still in love with her writing. It is still very evocative and well done and just a challenge. I'm not going to lie, it is a challenge. But it is a challenge I am enjoying. And is she going to be a highly popular writer in today's climate? No, she is not. Are they filled with, faith? No, they are not. However, are they very reflective of the time period in which they were written? They absolutely are. And I love them. I'm not a short story person, and I am loving these tremendously. So hats off to her. Okay. I have finished The Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare. And the accompanying chapter in Harold Bloom's Shakespeare, The Invention of a Human. And I did watch the movie too. I will tell you that this is my favorite Shakespeare play, hands down, by far. As of the filming of this video, nothing else comes close. The humor in this play, the lines in this play, the love, all of it is just, it is fantastic. Now, there's obviously going to be a lot of controversy these days about this play, and it's ridiculous. Kate is not an abused, beaten down woman, drugged to the altar, and forced to marry a man she despised. And is she reluctant? Sure. Does she find him her equal in the ability to wield words and make her point verbally? Oh, she absolutely does. And she is absolutely in love with Petruchio when they get married. She is absolutely determined to get her own way. And you watch Petruchio fall in love with her over the course of it. And, it did not take me long to read it. I'm obviously very familiar with it. And when I watched the Richard Burton Elizabeth Taylor adaptation, you realize that Elizabeth Taylor was too old to be playing Kate. However, the chemistry between Burton and Taylor is top tier. Just nothing comes close. Highly recommend. If you need a movie recommendation and you want something classical, The Taming of the Shrew, the 1967 version. So it's older than me. And why do we not have... No, I'm going to take that thought back, because if we did it in modern day Hollywood, they would destroy Shakespeare, and I would rather that not occur. Okay. That is everything I have finished reading. I did complete a chapter of Sarum, but that's fine. Okay. So what am I currently in the process of reading? I am currently like 45% of the way through For a Noble Purpose by Kelsey Geidel. This is the first book in the Larksong trilogy. This is Catholic historical romantic fiction, and it is set in Missouri, and they are making their way west. And so far, I'm not hating it. I'm also not loving it. It's a lot of backstory, like too much backstory in my opinion. So we'll have to see how it concludes to know where I finally end up with it. The writing is good, the characterization is good, but yeah, right now there's too much backstory, and I'm afraid that if we end up with a happily ever after, it's going to be a little too insta-lovey. So stay tuned for the actual conclusion of that one. I have started and have not yet picked it back up. Healer by Linda Windsor. This is set in Scotland. It is Arthurian. And yeah, I haven't picked it up yet. It's just over 350 pages. So, and it's, not tiny print. So I just need to sit down and do it. Once I start, it will be a fast read, but I haven't had the bandwidth to do that. I am reading Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. All. I am loving this so much. And it is amazing to me how I read this book when it came out or shortly thereafter. So it's been at least 40 years since I've read this book. And I read it once. I moved on to other things. So in the intervening 40 years, I have read hundreds, if not thousands of books in the intervening years. And never reread it. It is amazing to me how much of the story, the big plot lines, maybe not the details, but the big plot points, I remember. And how much I know of what is coming towards the latter half of the book. I'm impressed with myself. That's all I can say is I am impressed with myself. So, this is the first book of the Earth Children series. I am absolutely loving this. This is prehistoric fiction. And so well done. I'm loving it as much as the first time. And I will give you my complete review when I finish it. But yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. And I am currently reading Jane of Austen by Hilary Manton Lodge. This is the book club read, as you know. This is fantastic, you guys. Seriously, you don't have to have read Sense and Sensibility. It will make sense if you don't understand the Sense and Sensibility, retelling points. It's just fun. It's fun. Discord has been fun. The Texas quotes in here are fun. There's recipes. It's fantastic, and we are all enjoying it. Which brings me to Sense and Sensibility. I'm 10 pages in. I need to work on this today. I'm enjoying it immensely. And this is the first Austen in the last, 6-8 months. I actually am enjoying this far into the book. I know. Who am I and what have I done with myself? Okay, and lastly in progress is, and I left it downstairs, of Love and Treason by Jamie Ogle. I'm buddy reading this with Amanda and Miriam. I'm loving our conversation. This is a story about St. Valentine, and Jamie Ogle can create a scene, and those characters jump right off the page. If that carries through the rest of the book, I am going to have no problem picking up her new book, which is about St. Nicholas. And here's the cover. Okay, I think that is everything I have in progress as of this morning. So, if I finish anything between now and Friday, I will come back and do another clip. If not, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.